What's going on, Exo community? Exostomp here, and today, people, we're going to be going over the EDL power rankings for week 2. And joining me, as usual, is your boy RibombeeTeacher.
What's going on, EDL? RibombeeTeacher now, and I have escaped Exo's closet this week. I made it out of the basement, now I have to get out of the closet instead. But we're here, we're back again. Week 2, let's get into it.
It's a little bit warmer than in the basement, so you better be happy about that.
It's too hot. Get a fucking fan in there.
Fine. So, anyways, let's just start off this power rankings talking about number 16, which is the Bodacious Barachis. So, starting off, I'm a little sad that they didn't bring Rain Dish on their Tentacruel versus a Rain team. I thought that would have been really cool to see. And now, I know that they have a lot of setup on their team, and they do have that like Grimmsnarl that can set up screens really easily, but I would like to see a little bit of switch up between what they're actually doing, because all I see is setup. Like, 4 out of the 6 Pokemon has setup, and then there's Grimmsnarl, and then like Steelix. I want to see a little bit of like difference, a little bit of different team comps for these next games.
Yeah, and it's not exactly like their team is capable of doing anything different either, right? There's a lot of mons that are very, very versatile with a lot of different sets, but we are largely just seeing history repeat itself, and that's very ominous, especially for a team that actually looks decent on paper. I don't feel like it's the team's fault. I think it's the people playing it, and at this point, it's like we really do need to start seeing step up from this team, because this is kind of getting a bit like a broken record now. I'm kind of a bit fed up with saying this is a good team, but are they going to be able to play it properly? And the answer being no. Because this is 2 weeks in a row now where I don't think their matchup was that terrible. It wasn't great. I'll be honest, it wasn't the best matchup in the world, but this was a matchup that was winnable, and they just didn't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. The fact that they had Rotom in their back pocket, they had Tentacruel with Rain Dish, they had Noivern for the Hurricane spam. They had so many like things that they could have done, but they didn't. And I think that's something to show, because like, yeah, you do have a lot of setup mons, sure, and you can do that for like a few of your games, but if you're doing it every single time, it's going to be really easy to predict and really easy to play around.
I feel like neither of these two players are particularly good team builders, and I feel like that's really starting to bite them in the backside right now, because they're getting out prepped both weeks in a row, and it may be worth them just reaching out to someone else who has a bit more experience team building, maybe a little bit better on that front, just to kind of push them in the right direction, because they are capable as players in terms of battling, but they're not prepping well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Coming in at number 15 is going to be the Houston Helios. So, the first thing I'd like to say about that is, like, I feel like their game, they sort of just got outplayed. There wasn't many mistakes besides just getting outplayed and outpredicted.
Yeah, they almost outplayed themselves in a way.
Yeah.
It was kind of a bit of an odd one. I felt like they didn't give themselves any value to go against the Kommo. Obviously, as Clangrasol's not banned in this league, it's banned in some, but it's not in this one. Like, that possibility is always there, and they kind of just played into Nico Father's hands, which was a little unfortunate for them. But yeah, makes me sad. They were my number 1 post-draft pick in terms of the team, and now they're down in 15th. They definitely don't belong down there, but we're gonna not need to start seeing these execution errors being a little bit short up, because that team is terrifying if it's played properly. We did get to see some decent value out of the Aegislash, though. That was a much better play for it. Obviously, it didn't carry them to win, but it's nice to see that they can actually use them once properly. I did like the boots on the Arcanine. It was a smart bring. The double defog, kind of interesting. We don't often see 2 defoggers in the same game, but I think it was actually worth it, especially against the Ditto. Unfortunately, the Ditto was allowed to transform the Rotom and get rid of the hazards completely itself, so that kind of gave Nico Father a few too many win cons. That was just kind of an unfortunate game, but hopefully we'll see some better games from them soon, because I like this team so much. I want it to do well.
Yeah, the team is solid. It's just I'm gonna say it a lot, but it's their speed. I feel like if they just get some more speed on this team, it might be a little bit better. But
Or even scarf a mon or two. You know what I mean? It's like, because I don't think they scarfed anything on this game.
yeah. Coming in at number 14 is Sandy Snails, which was a team that me and Transl versed this week. I think the biggest thing for their team is I don't know, or at least their plays is I don't know why they didn't bring in Licky Licky on the Kyurem after they saw that we were special, because they sacked everything before they went into Licky Licky, which was a little strange because like we would have switched out on the Licky Licky because we didn't know what it had yet. And it could take every single hit from Kira.
It was the old Vinicius moment where you realize something a second too late, and then it just kind of just completely forgot about it. I've definitely been a victim of that myself. Most people will probably remember some of my shenanigans, and obviously you guys forgetting one or two things as well in the past. So it definitely was interesting. Obviously they had a terrible matchup into Kyurem in general. To be honest, like Kyurem just ripped through their whole team. Especially with freeze dry. Like freeze dry for the slow bro, definitely problematic. But yeah, they should have brought Licky Licky in a million times earlier, but they didn't. And ultimately, they, again, much like the Helios, they outplayed themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right with the point that you said that Kyurem sort of destroys their team. I think building, Transl looked at their team, looked at Kyurem, and he was like, we are 100% bringing this. Yeah. I think we had specs at first, and then he's like, well, we don't really want to have specs because what if like we use freeze dry and then he goes into Melmetal and then we're screwed. So I was like, what about E-belts? And yeah, expert belt definitely helped out in that
Took a
game.
leaf out of my book because that's one of my favorite items.
Yeah, E-belt is so fun.
Yeah, especially as people are like, what the hell is it? It's not Life Orb, it's not Specs. What's going on here? They don't understand that E-belt is actually a thing.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Moving on to number 13 is going to be Team RibombeTeacher. So, what was going on in what was your thought process going into this game?
So, we kind of knew, even before we finished building the team, that this match was lost for us. Our matchup was kind of terrible into Dragapult, Cinderace, Porygon Z, and Azumarill. So our win condition was them not bringing one of them, and then we had a somewhat of a chance in this game. Obviously, the Porygon got a hell of a lot of value, as did the Vikavolt, which neither of us wanted. We actually scarfed Drapion, which was kind of an unusual mon to scarf. We had it as like our Dragapult answer primarily, but obviously they got a very good read on turn 1, just straight up clicking Thunderbolt and limiting Drapion's usage entirely. So that was a good play on their end. And generally speaking, we were trying to limit the damage as much as possible, but we genuinely just couldn't. We knew this was a lost game going into it. So it sucks for us that we had to play through that, but ultimately we dust ourselves down and move on to the next one. Because the next one, theoretically, is a much more winnable game.
I could slightly agree with that you guys did have a losing matchup. The only thing is, like, I feel like if you brought maybe a Scarf Keldeo, that would have been definitely good against the Porygon in case it was, a nasty plus set, or even like just like a spec set if they set up webs, which I think your team does struggle against webs because you don't have like a fast enough Pokemon to really limit that. Because like if someone sets up, like, let's say a fastish Pokemon sets up an SD or a Nasty Plot or even like a Dragon Dance, it's really hard to play around that if webs are up, which is actually very annoying because your hazard removers are Lurantis and Rotom Frost, which Rotom Frost I was actually surprised lived a hit from Porygon.
We were largely pretty defensive on it, so
okay.
that's why we knew we would potentially live it. It was still a roll though, because of the Nasty Plot being set up, so that was always the hard part for us. But now, more to the Keldeo point, we did go back and forth on Keldeo quite a lot because obviously it does have a positive Porygon matchup, but it's very, very limited. aside from that, like, it has a negative matchup in a Dragon Ball because its only ice move is Icy Wind. It has a very negative matchup into a Zumarill, which can set up on it all day. Doesn't really touch Ferroseed either if it's physically bulky. Like, or especially bulky rather. So like, there's a lot of mons on their team that Keldeo had a negative matchup into. That actually bringing Keldeo was just never gonna work. It was too much of a risk.
That's definitely fair. Yeah. Okay. So going on to number 12, we have the Kink Kings. Now, I feel like the main thing for them was that they did miss that Selgor Focus Blast, which I think would have gotten them, of course, a bigger differential, and I think could have won with that Throat Spray Unburden Selgor, which I feel like I may have started that like in GPL Season 2, even before that. I used it, and people have been picking up on it and using it, and it's been working out pretty well. I was happy to see that come in that game, and I think they also played very well in that game.
Was it me, or did the King Kings largely bring a lot of standard? Because like, it felt like their team, aside from like the weirdness of like Flame Charge on Silvally, which didn't really feel like it made a lot of sense, but actually had some value. Like, the Hydreigon was pretty standard. Roserade, pretty standard. Excelgor with Throat Spray has been a thing since pretty much Sword and Shield dropped. That was one of the first things that I think MV started. Throat Spray Excelgor. I think that was one of his biggest trends. But yeah, like, the team itself looked fairly standard. It had a lot of moves that made sense. There wasn't really a lot of the meme values that we associate with Rabbit. This looked more like a try-hard game. And it looked pretty strong, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know if it was really standard, because like the Roserade, it had some decent things, like Synthesis was a little bit different. I feel like, and the Selgor could have just been like a Spikes and Toxic Spikes, like that's more of like a regular set, like Focus Sash. But it wasn't. It was actually a sweeping set, which was really unique. I think everything else was pretty standard, but I think those two sets were a little bit out there.
And the Hippo didn't even see the field, so for all we know, that could have been a special Hippo.
Yeah, it could have been a Specs Hippo.
Which, knowing Rabbit, it probably was, but...
Maybe.
Dear, we didn't get to see it, sadly.
Yeah, that's...
Maybe they bring that against us, since that's who they play this week.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Coming in at number 11, we have the Launching Dragapult. So, I really like the Primarina, like how they played the Primarina. I just feel like it was a little too soon. If they played it a little bit later on, and maybe they weakened a few other Pokemon, they could have definitely done a lot of work with that thing and possibly even won the game. But sadly, I think they set up a little too early, and I feel like that lost them the game.
Yeah, they pretty much didn't play against Gothitelle very well. They didn't really have a good Gothitelle like response. Obviously, Galvantula and I guess Celebi with U-turn. But I don't think the Scythe had a bug move either. So like, they didn't really play into Gothitelle very well. They played against the rest of the team actually pretty decent though. The early Primarina I don't think was terrible. I don't think they played it entirely that well. Obviously, a Subcom mindset is way better as a setup sweeper, but it can be decent as an early breaker, but they could have saved it instead of just being too aggressive with the Toxic being ticked down time and time again. They could have kept it alive with like 50-odd% HP, and it wouldn't have been that terrible for it. That may have been somewhat better, because it would have made the Gothitelle a little bit more scared, but it was Toxic anyway, so it was always on a timer. But yeah, generally they played actually very well against everything except Gothitelle. And obviously Gothitelle being the win condition on the enemy team. Like, that's the biggest problem you face. And obviously Gothitelle picked up the win.
Yeah, I can agree with your points. I think they had a lot of pivot, but of course the only Mahan that I feel like they didn't have pivot on was the Drampa, and I think they should have... I don't know how they could have played around that Goth. Maybe like switched out before the Goth came in, like if they didn't get the kill on the I
Or
forgot.
run a shed shell and suck off some of the power, because it was basically dying to its own life orb recall while the Gothitelle was setting up.
Yeah, Shed Shell would have been interesting as well.
But yeah, there was kind of a lot of weird back and forth in this game, actually, because quite a few boo on both sides. They just switched into Mons dying. Like, the Excadrill died for nothing. I think the Seismitoad and the Incineroar died for very little as well.
Yeah. Okay. So now moving on to the 10th place team, we have Dumb and Dumber. So let's keep talking about them, shall we? Yeah, I definitely think that they played the Goth very well. Trapping in that Drampa was their best play because, like I said, everything else really had pivot or able to set up with it. Like, let's say the Primarina. I think, yeah, the Primarina had flip turn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so even that had pivot. But yeah, they did fall a little bit in the ranks, mainly because they did win, but it wasn't by a lot, I believe. I think it was by 1, right? Like that was.
I think it was just the Gothitelle left standing. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
There's not really much more to say, to be fair. I think they did do somewhat okay with this rather unusual Kangaskhan set, the Wish Protect Toxic, and I think it was Astos was its last move for breaking the sub. Pretty unusual to see it fully support, especially in singles format. It's not actually bad in VGC in terms of the support set. But yeah, it's definitely an unusual set. I'm just watching it back, actually. Yeah, the Seismitoad died for nothing. The Incineroar actually died after Flare Blitz recall, after killing the Excadrill. But yeah, the Conk died for nothing, but it actually worked out in their favor. It was a 2-0, because the Goth got set up and the Kangaskhan was still alive on like 10% HP.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a pretty straightforward game for them. They kind of knew their win condition was Gothitelle, and they played it in as best as they could at the right time. Kind of weird not to see U-turn on Scyther. It literally just went for knockoff and dual wing beat. It didn't go for U-turn at all.
Yeah, U-turn would have been pretty good. Yeah, I guess they didn't bring. They might have not had it. But yeah, the defensive Kangaskhan was awesome. It having like Wish Protect Toxic, that was really cool. And yeah, great positioning with the Goth. But yeah, there's not really much else that we could talk about.
No.
Alright, so coming in at 9th, we have Happini's Slaves. So, weird. The set on Toxapex was super weird, but it was able to. I guess it should have been able to stall out the opponent because, of course, Peck it has like 56 PP, which is I think that's why they brought it, was to stall out Mons. But sadly, it didn't work as well as I think they would have hoped. But I don't want to get into necessarily what happened at the end of the game because we're gonna get up to what happened at number 6. But yeah, I don't think they should have won. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh no, they absolutely should have lost. Like, there's no two ways about that. This was a pretty lost game for them. They did kind of get goaded in to go into Toxapex by their opponents, which I'm not a fan of, personally. We'll get to that when we get to Recordham anyway, but yeah, they had some okay moments, but okay is not enough. Again, much like the team last week, they kind of didn't get through Milotic very well. They lost a lot of value to it. They did get a good play on the Rapidash early on, getting the Flame Body. It was a little unfortunate for the Weavile. Yeah, the Rapidash going early was okay. Obviously, it's decent. The one thing they didn't really know, there was no way for them to know this, was actually Recordham and EV their Indeedee incorrectly. So actually, the Rotom Fat actually outsped the Indeedee. But there was no way for them to know that at the time during the game. But had they known that and just clicked Dark Pulse, they actually probably could have won the game. But yeah, they basically lost the game due to information that they knew, or they never could have known they would have had.
Yeah, that's the main thing, right? Like, if they had a little bit more information, they could have definitely could have won, but yeah, sadly they did not.
Also, the Toxapex set was definitely kind of weird, but I kind
Yeah,
of like it.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
I wish they just bought a standard Toxapex, though. I think actually they probably would have had a better time with it, rather than trying some weird block shenanigans.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think they just wanted to have some fun with the game.
And Panda is definitely a rather creative player, so I do like that. I do like that they're doing that, but ultimately I'd like them to win some games too, because they are actually not a bad team.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Coming in at number 8, we have Primal Lickipydon. So, I liked the Trick Toxic Orb Rotom. I think that was really cool that they brought that and were able to just trick turn 1 and get that Grimmsnarl's Light Clay, so it can't really set up as well with the screens. And the Defog into all the screens plus the White Herb, that was a lot of value that they got from that from Pelipper using that.
They got a lot of value out of a lot of their mons this week, which is something that happens a lot in singles, especially when you're outplaying your opponent. Like they got so much value out of the Crawdon, which was insane. Obviously, they got a huge amount out of the Pelipper as well. They actually got really, really solid value in general. It's unfortunate the Rotom got critted, but I don't know if that totally mattered on the Rotom from the Steelix. But yeah, there was a lot of things that they actually just played relatively simple. I did like yeah, it was mostly the Crawdon I was looking at, largely speaking. Was very impressive. They played to a Crawdon endgame extremely nicely.
Yeah, they played it well.
That, I don't think the opposing team really thought about, or at least if they did think about it, they didn't play it very well. I also liked getting the tricking the heavy duty boots off the center scourge. I feel like that was actually a clutch play, especially if the Pharaoh had rocks. I'm not entirely sure if it did, but there is no other rocker on the team except Blissey, so I assume it might have done. Well, they only had spikes and knockoff on it, but yeah, getting the center scourge weakened was nice. Punishing the shell smashing again on the Poltergeist, pretty nice. But yeah, they played to Crawdon perfectly, and that's pretty much the main takeaway for them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Coming in at number 7, it's gonna be the Table Flippers, me and Trancel. So personally for me, I was a little sad that we couldn't use our Specs Vaporeon because we brought it to do a lot of work and we were not able to use it, and I really wanted to show it off because it actually destroyed their team, but sadly Kyurem did the same thing, I guess. So
Kyurem's just like, move out of the way, bitch, this is my fight, and just literally just murdered the entire enemy team for the most part.
Yeah,
definitely did a lot of work. I don't think we got to see too much. I don't think the Gengar even saw the field, or at least we certainly didn't see much from it. It was nice to see the Stunfisk coming. I do like Stunfisk sometimes. Not too much, but I don't mind it. But this just pretty much felt like you had a very favorable matchup and you just actually remembered everything and actually played properly this time.
Oh yeah, thank God.
No more tilt. Sadly, they didn't have an Assault Vest to worry about, so...
Yeah, dude, we were actually prepping for AV Melmetal because that took a hit from everything and dishes out a lot of damage, but thankfully they did not bring it. We could have 6-0'd. We could have went right into Cobalion on the Mienshao because that also had Rocky Helmet just to kill off the Mienshao because we knew we would have lived the hit and everything, but we didn't want to chance it. I don't know why. I think it didn't matter because we were still gonna get a 5-0 either way, even if it like somehow died. But still, yeah.
I think if the only thing you can ever criticize is losing one differential, I think that pretty much said everything about your matchup.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, like, I think that's pretty much the only thing that needs to be said. I think it was a very easy game for you, and you played it properly and won, which is kind of what I expect from you and Trancel, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay. So coming in at number 6 then, we have Team Recordham. So, do you want to voice your opinions about what happened this match?
I could. Obviously, I watched Tyler's videos. I watch everyone's videos if they make them and stuff like that. Hopefully more people do, because obviously I do and I know Tyler does. I know a couple of people have done. I want to see more of that. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of bad sportsmanship. I know it was all in a good sense of fun, like baiting in and or whatever. It's like you knew that you wanted the Toxapex to come in and just like typing it in chat and stuff like that. Go Toxapex, whatever. Like, I don't talk to my opponents during games unless they ask something, like, and then that's different. But like, and then just going in and justifying it, saying, "Oh well, they didn't actually have to do it." That's not an excuse to do it in my book. I'm not a fan of that. Obviously, it pretty much summed up largely what happened. Obviously, it was a favorable position to them, and then for some bizarre reason, I don't understand what Smeefleham was thinking. Basically trying to goad Tyler into switching my Lodokin. That makes no sense whatsoever. Just win the game. It's not hard, right? Just get into a position and win the game. But for some reason, they decided to throw. Don't really know why. I guess Karma bit them in the backside. But yeah, definitely not fun to watch as an analyst. Not fun to have to commentate on either, and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully we don't see that again, because that's, honestly, to me, it's not okay.
Yeah, they could have had been at no losses, and I think at like a 5-0 or sorry, a 5 differential or 4 differential, one or the other, which would have been way better for them. They would have been around the top, and instead they decided to switch out their +4 Holucha for pretty much no reason, and yeah, lose the game, which was big. But yeah, so coming in at number 5, we have I'll get it. You're right.
I'm not doing it.
Storm Fiorentara.
Close enough.
All right, cool. so I think the most annoying thing about watching this game was seeing a defensive Mew. Yuck. Okay, yuck. Gross. I hate seeing defensive Mew. I know it's like good, but I want to see different sets from Mew. Like, if you guys may have seen, I'll just shout out UTA because they're a partner. In the UTA match that Trensel played with his Mew, I think he 6-0'd with his Mew or 5-0'd, or he got 6 kills with his Mew by setting up. And I want to see more of that in this league. Okay, so Denny and Sylvie, if you're watching this, definitely try some cool sweeping sets. I believe you tried one for week 1, but like,
and didn't really get to do anything.
Yeah, I think it may have gotten like a kill, but then it just died. So, yeah, definitely some more. It's worth
pointing. They did actually make a lot of trades going into next week,
right.
And that's kind of interesting. I'm really sad to see Zarude go. I was really hoping to see more Zarude in this league. Hopefully somebody else picks it up and stuff like that to use it. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. They brought a very semi-defensive team, like with Mudsdale, Jealous, and Mew, Sylveon, all being defensive. Kind of felt like they were lacking a bit of power, but obviously they got a little bit of good fortune with the Focus Blast miss. They did get hacked out a little bit, but it's minor. I don't think it was game-changing, though. But yeah, I generally think, and I don't think they had the best time in the world. It's kind of interesting, you know, obviously losing to a team that was effectively dubbed the meme team and whatever. It sucks for them, but they're both decent players, so I think they'll play better next week.
Oh yeah, 100% agree with that. They're actually versing the Rain team, which is going to be very interesting. They do have a few, I guess, counters, like Jellicent can take a hit. It also has Giga Drain and stuff like that, so that might be something that they're thinking of. But yeah, they definitely have answers to Rain, so I think that's going to be a really interesting game to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming in, this is going to be the top 4. So 4th, we have Spooky Burger. So, the biggest thing here was, they did lose, yeah. It was a 1-0, so it was a really close game. And I think they were roasting the Rowdy Rillabooms, which is number 3. I think this was definitely the most. Trying to find the wording here. I can't think of the word.
It's definitely an unusual match, in a way. I didn't really expect too much from this. The early game plays were kind of interesting, especially around the Lycanroc. But they kind of lost a fair bit of value to Sharpedo. Sharpedo actually did way more than I expected from it. Actually picked up 2 kills, I think, before eventually succumbing. But yeah, it was interesting to watch. Definitely a very, very close game. But yeah, obviously they narrowly lost to, unsurprisingly, the opponent's team's mascot.
Yeah. The Carkol got 2 kills, which don't remember how, but
They got
really...
a burn up on 1 kill.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't remember the other one.
Yes, Spooks loves to put burn up on Pokemon. I believe he brought burn up on his UTA Arcanine, on his Arcanine as well, which
It's more common on Arcanine, though. You very rarely see it on Carkol.
yeah, that's true. It's just like it's definitely an interesting move, and it was cool to see on a new Pokemon like that. So yeah,
They brought some rather bizarre moves, though. They brought like Sand Tomb on Scizor.
to hit the mag, I guess. I don't know.
Rather interesting tech, I guess. It was probably their best Magneton or Magnezone answer. It still loses 1v1 regardless. I think you turning out is just a better way. To be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, I agree with that completely.
But yeah, it was definitely kind of funny. I definitely had a bit of a chuckle to myself when I saw that. But yeah, there wasn't a lot in it for them. Unfortunately, they couldn't beat Rillaboom in the long run. I think they lost some of their better Rillaboom answers. Anyway, they didn't really have the best Rillaboom answers. I assume they probably had Fire Punch on Zeraora. Something like that. Maybe you turn it on Scizor. I don't know if Decidueye... Well, Decidueye gets flying moves, I guess. But yeah, they basically didn't have a Rillaboom answer at the end. So they kind of lost to Rillaboom.
Yeah, Rillaboom definitely destroyed their team in the end because of how much coverage it has against the team that they brought. But coming in at number 3, might as well talk about them since we already are. Rowdy Rillabooms. So they did fall. I believe they were I think they were number 1 actually. Yeah, because they had a 4-0, and I think most teams got like 3-0s and stuff like that. But yeah, they did fall. They still won their game. They're still at 2-0. Like they haven't lost yet, so that's still good. Keep it up, especially because you did beat one of the scariest teams in the league, being of course Spooks and Burger. But I really liked the Sash Sharpedo. I think the Sash Sharpedo early on was a really cool bring, and it did do a decent amount of work against their team. I don't think they expected that at all, which was really cool. The Comfy was really nicely played against the Zeraora, because they were expecting close combat against stuff like the Mag and even like the Lycanroc. So I think that they definitely played around Spooky Burger, and the point that like if Spooky Burger predicted a little bit more instead of just clicking, like attacking what's in front of them, like maybe predicting, hey, I know the Comfy's got to come out against this close combat, I think Spooky Burger would have a better chance, but they sort of just attacked what was in front of them, which was better for, of course, Rowdy Rillabooms, and they were able to take home the victory through that.
Yeah, I'd have liked to have seen the Rowdy Rillabooms being a little bit more aggressive on turn 2, because they obviously went for Endeavor, which was very, very nice, really chipping away at a pretty solid Mon, right? The Sand Slash taking 92% of its health in just like one foul swoop. And then they went for Taunt afterwards. I feel like they probably could have tried to knock out the Sand Slash there. Probably would have had a better time of it. I'm not really sure why they went for Taunt, I guess to try and prevent rocks, but like if you're faster, which Lycanroc is faster than Sand Slash in most instances, then you just pick up the kill. I don't understand why you taunted there. it kind of felt like it wasn't worth going for that. But like aside from that, I feel like they actually had a very solid game in general. It would have been interesting if Spooky Burger's Carkol was not Flame Body and it was like Steam Engine. That would have been an interesting dynamic because the Rotom Heat did get an overheat connect into the Carkol. That could have caused the Rillaboom's a few troublesome moments because obviously then that's a +6 Carkol that has burn up, so it's only a rock type after that. So that could have been interesting. Could have been a rather odd thing. Obviously, it would have potentially fell foul of the Comfy, but at the end of the day, like there's a few little interesting nuances that Spooky Burger could have done, but I think the Rillaboom's just played pretty close to perfect, aside from the turn 2.
I think they may have done that play because of they may have only had like a Celerock, which at that point I don't think it kills a defensive Sandslash at like, I think it was like 18% or something like that. I don't think it kills, which is probably the safest play just to taunt in case they just try to set up spikes and rocks and stuff on it.
I mean, what else does it have with Endeavor, Taunt, Excel Rock? It's probably got another move.
Maybe Stealth Rocks.
Possibly.
Which...
Obviously, if the Rillabooms are watching, let us know what that last move was, because that would have explained why you went for Taunt. But, yeah, it definitely seemed an odd play to me. I think I would have just knocked out the Sandslash. But then again, I normally run Drill Run or something like that to do a bulky steals. Or even to do a Zero Aura in this instance.
Or close combat now. But yeah, but against yeah. I can agree. I just think maybe they only had a Celerock, which is the more likely situation, like unless they
that would definitely be justifiable. But still.
Yeah. But coming in at second place, we have Nico Father. So, I do like the defensive Toxtricity that they brought. I think that was extremely unique. How they had like Toxic and they had Black Sludge, and it was really tanking a lot of moves, which is really cool. I liked the defensive Slurpuff, that like Wish Aromatherapy Slurpuff. I think that was also really unique. Haven't seen that too often. And yeah, they have won all their games so far, but they still haven't proved me wrong that they don't have a very versatile team. Because what 6 have they brought both times so far? The same 6. So, if they want to prove me wrong, they're going to bring every single Pokemon and win, okay? Like, like yeah, they do have the Darm. Okay, I can see the Darm coming a few times. I can see the Bronzong coming a few times. The Kingler and the Ninjask, I feel like aren't going to come, and if they are, they're going to be fodder, because I don't, like, yeah, the Kingler's cool, and the Ninjask can maybe do something. I don't think they're going to be doing as much as they would hope for. So, yeah, please prove me wrong. Bring all your Pokemon throughout these next few weeks, and you know what, then, and if you're still winning, alright, you proved me wrong, okay?
So, I'm going to give you the non-nitpicking and non-biased opinion here. But yeah, I honestly feel like I don't really care if they bring the same sets both weeks. If it works, then don't fix it. Like, it's not broken. I feel like they got a lot of value out of a lot of their mons, especially the Tox. The Ditto provided a huge amount of value, being able to defog into, or being able to imposter into Rotom and then Scarf defog. Definitely caused the Helios way too many problems because the Helios needed the hazards being up. And of course the Shuckle died to a Poltergeist from, Delmise. So, yeah, they played to a Combo endgame very nicely. That's all they had to do in order to win the game. So I have no problem with that. I don't think it was a bad thing. I like the Slurpuff. We don't always see the Wish Slurpuff, but it is actually a very viable set. It's actually not actually that bad on ladder at the moment either. I've seen that set a few times, but yeah, generally speaking, I think they played this game very, very nicely against a team that honestly probably should have beaten them. But I don't think the opposing team played well enough. Again, like I said earlier, they outplayed themselves more than anything else. And Nico Father jumped in and closed out the game.
Yeah. Yeah, they played to their win cons very well, so I will say that. and they do have the number 1 on the kill leaderboard, or the kill, everything leaderboard, and that is going to be Como, of course, because it has 6 kills, which is the most so far. So yeah,
Demetrio cool. is absolutely screaming with joy right now.
Yes. But coming in at number 1 is going to be the Missing Note Bros. So, there's not much to say about this game. Webs plus Nasty Plot Porygon just sort of ate your team. If they did get the roll on the Rotom, they would have gotten a 5-0. You guys did get pretty lucky on the roll and at least brought it down to a 4-0. But yeah, I think they took advantage of their setup, and they were able to use it very well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they punished us and prevented us from getting any value out of a couple of our mons. Like, we got no value out of Clef, we got no value out of Marowak. So, like, we got very limited value because of how much the Porygon did. We did get a little unfortunate in 1 or 2 instances, but then we got fortunate with 1 or 2 rolls as well. They kind of thought they got min-rolled on the Orbeetle, but we actually brought a very specially defensive Orbeetle, so we knew we lived a +2, but still. They did very well. We actually kind of semi-expected them to bring Specs on PZ, because that Specs actually just ruined everything but Marowak. But obviously, as soon as we switched into Marowak and saw Nasty Plot, we were just like, well, that's us losing. So we were just trying to limit the damage, but we couldn't. They played pretty much exactly how they should have done. And I think, largely speaking, they played how any team in that matchup should have done. Like, I would back even like the Bodacious Barashis to win that matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, they played to their win cons well. One thing that I would like to see, of course, everyone knows me. I love to see low tiers. But they do have Hatchram. Now, Hatchram at 40 points, I've been using it in like down and PU, and it's been really fun because like it's basically a Violet Hatterene without the fairy typing, which, it's okay. They already have 2 other fairies. I would like to see it be brought and maybe do a little bit of what it does best, which is like bounce back things. But yeah, they have so many good mons on their team. I don't really see it coming at all, because like they don't need to bring it. They have, like I said, so many good Pokemon that they don't have to bring it at all. But yeah, they are at number 1 this week. Hopefully they could keep it up for their sakes. And yeah, I think they're versing Team Recordham this week, which is pretty fun. I know that Skinny and Tyler are both really good friends, so that's going to be an interesting match.
They were also teammates in the SPPL before as well, so that'll be kind of funny to see who's the better teammate.
Yeah.
Who has the better carry, should I say?
Yeah, who has the better carry?
Is it Swordbros or Smeefleham? Which one is it?
Place your bets. Your bets.
After this week, after Smeefleham decided to throw a game, my bet is on Swordbros. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, I'm throwing it down. I reckon Recordham will throw again.
Hopefully, for their sakes, you're wrong, but we'll see.
I'm totally not biased.
Yeah.
I just want to see people win games, not throw games.
Oh yeah, I agree. But yeah, guys, that has been the power rankings for week 2. If you guys enjoyed, of course, please leave a like. It'll be much appreciated. If you haven't, made a video on the EDL, of course, you don't need to. But if you would like to, go ahead, let me know if you do, and I'll put it down in the comments so that anyone that's interested in watching your gameplay, of course, can click on it and watch. But yeah. I guess.
Also, of course, if you haven't, make sure you watch the people that have already.
Right.
Not meaning to self-promote, but I do on my own channel too.
Yeah.
But yeah. And stuff like that, alongside other things. Obviously, make sure you enjoy the content, of course, and enjoy the league. And of course, as always, guys, good luck with your games.
Yeah. See you all next time. Peace.
Take care.